Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Kyle Talks, where I'm Kyle and we talk. We have a really good episode today with Evan Cudworth. He is a party coach. What does that mean? We'll talk about that in the episode, but we talk about what does being a party coach mean? What does that look like? What do you do? How do you help people? Is partying really helpful for you? And does drugs play a part in that or not? I really enjoyed my sit down conversation with Evan, and I think you will too. Without further delay, enjoy my conversation with Evan Cudworth. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Let's party.
It's awesome. So before we jump into everything, I try to wrap my head, learn more about what you do, and I love the why. Um, but what exactly is a party coach? Can you tell us more?
Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, I'd want to start. I'm a paradox. I'm not trying to make people more like me. I don't think I'm a good role model,
Fair enough.
but
Sure.
I believe that partying is a portal into a type of connection and a type of thing that humanity might need more of right now. And that there's a lot of wellness and thinking that's going on right now. And to me, parties represent, well, not the opposite of those things. I think partying can be healthy. I think partying represents, in all of its different forms, from a kid's birthday party to a funeral where you're crying your eyes out,
Yeah.
like partying to celebrate the death of someone, and all the parties in between, that there's something in there that can shake us out of apathy and stuckness and help us reconnect.
Uh, and that's what I liked when I was, doing. So it sounds like your focus is really on helping people socialize, like get out of themselves. And I'll talk about your Instagram because I there's so much I agree with. But is that right? Like to get out, look outside yourself.
It's so interesting because it's a paradox. The word party is actually a contronym, which in that it means its own opposite.
What does
The
contronym mean? Sorry, I'm a
Yeah,
like.
so it's a word that means its own opposite.
Oh, okay.
So party, when we think about it, it's like, oh, like get together with people, right? But if you trace the etymology of the word,
Yeah. Okay.
it comes kind of from partir, which is like to split off. And think of like a legal party. So it was like somebody who splits off, like one party is suing another party. And then we have a hunting party. So it's literally somebody who splits off from the main group, but that new group becomes a party and it becomes a new experience of collective. And the program that I have is called The Party Within, which invites us to look inside of ourselves and see that there might be this party that's going on. But to answer your question, I do believe that partying needs to be shared. That if we are
Agreed.
simply like, people will say, "Oh, I was partying," and they were
Agreed.
ripping shots and cocaine alone in their room. You're not partying, right? Like
Yeah.
that is something different.
Not with other people. You're doing it in your and
Yeah.
that I think okay, I'll bring up your Instagram. You did two reels recently. They're more recent, but about like faking it till you make it, being a part of it. I find that so true, regardless of what it is you're trying to do. Can you tell us more about that? Because I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, well, I think this is a great time to ask you, Kyle, what's your relationship to partying nowadays? Do you
That's a good
find it
question.
easy? Do you find it hard? Like what does partying mean to you?
That's a good question. Back in my football days, it was a lot more like stereotypical party, Bud Lights, you're around everyone, socialize, which I like that factor for sure, the socialization. Today, I don't know. I think we think of partying. I haven't thought about it as much as you have, to be honest. I've never thought about like going out, excuse me, going outside yourself or seeing. When I think party, I think back to when I was playing college football, going Bud Lights, warm beer. That's what I think of, at least now.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you is are those, do you look upon those fondly? Do you think that was a good part of your life? Do you think it was destructive? How do you feel about it?
Oh, I wasn't expecting this. For me personally, a paradox. We'll say that for both of those things. I liked it because I was at that time I was out around people, my teammates, colleagues, co-students, whatever you call them, and we're just having a good time, partying, having fun. On the other side of it, it was destructive for like my mental. I wasn't really that kind of partying. You don't now, I might be ignorant here, but when I was doing that kind of partying, it wasn't for some beneficial. It's because I wanted to get off, have fun, and I wasn't really. So, yes, I don't know if that answers your question. It was good in some parts, and other parts, I look back and I'm like, that was fun for what it was, but like my mental, I was not building up at all.
Yeah. Well, would you say that it was perhaps a catalyst or a lesson of, I want to feel less like this? Did it provide you
Hmm.
something to like, did it provide you your body the experience of maybe this is not me at my top form, or this is what I don't want to be?
What I'm confused. What do you are you asking? Like, yeah, I think I'm confused.
Yeah, let me rephrase this. So partying,
Yeah.
I think it's such I like to talk about it because it brings up these kinds of feelings for people in that
Okay.
often we have maybe some fond memories or there's some good things that we got out of it, but it was
Yeah.
also maybe e- eating away on our weekends or our times or our brains, or we felt like we
Mm,
weren't living up to our full potential because of the substances or alcohol that we were consuming. And also,
mm.
I noticed that a lot of growth in personally, spiritually, in a lot of other places does not come without suffering.
True.
And
Agree
if
with
we
that.
don't and I have friends or people that coasted through a lot of their lives and maybe didn't party or didn't screw up their lives, and they get to middle age and they have no resilience and they have no concept of what suffering
Yeah.
is, and their life completely falls apart.
No, yeah. Yeah, I know people like what you're saying, Evan. Yeah, the people that like squishy, never went out, never wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly. And it's like when hard stuff happens, like I my dad called it when I was younger, going on what you're saying, like young, dumb fun. Like different perspective, I guess, but it was fun. Like there's some parts where I'm like, maybe that wasn't smart for me individually, but I had fun. Like at that time, it was, what, like we just talked about. And that I think you're onto something. You make me think I think that does build something in you, whether good or wrong. That's just for each individual person to figure out. But there's something it builds.
Yeah. And building off that, one of my more controversial opinions, and this is just an opinion, I don't
Okay.
if everyone thought like this, the world would be destroyed.
Yeah.
But I'm just in terms of personal development and growth and all that, like I'm just less concerned about safety. Like I think we've
Mm,
over safetyized the world. And I think that's, in my opinion, why so many kids and everyone is so anxious right now is because they can't be more than 5 feet away from their helicopter parents. Everyone is tracking each other's location. We've
yeah.
created this safety, which is beautiful, right? We're able to live in a world that maybe feels safe, but
Yeah.
we are losing the resilience and the things that happen when we're allowed to screw up our lives.
So, yeah, you gather my thought. You can make dumb decisions and like learn from them. Whatever that's different for everyone. Whatever that decision was or is. It's like I I agree with you. There's someone I was talking with that said it very controversially, but while you're saying it is not controversial at all, by the way.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the words you use, I'm not going to use. But I
yeah,
think there is truth to that. Like we don't go out and have fun. We all die one day. Like there's something you die. Some people die sooner. Some people die later. There's nuance. I don't think you should that should control you. but I think that should be a factor to at least some degree, and maybe not a factor to some degree. Would you agree? Not agree?
Yeah. Are you afraid of death?
No, not at all. I used to be for sure.
Yeah, same. I used to be a lot.
Yeah.
I have no fear of it anymore. What I do fear, I fear memory loss or like losing my concept of being
Yeah.
unstuck in time.
I know what you
I've
mean. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that is something that I fear, but
Why
yeah,
though? If I may
yeah.
ask, why does that fear you? Why does that scare you?
So a couple things,
Okay.
I have had family members and family friends, deal with Alzheimer's and dementia,
Yeah.
and to see the personality shift and change is tough, and just to see how it affects other people that love that person is my mother dealt with cancer. Actually, today, while I was talking about Serene, today is 13 years since my mom passed.
Jeez. Sorry about that.
And I got to hold her hand as she passed, and there was so much pain and suffering in her body, but I still had like that soul and mental connection with her. Whereas, my grandmother who passed this last year and some other people that I've known, when you aren't able to connect on that level, it's a different kind of pain. And I don't want to put people that who knows if anyone will still be around to love me then, but if they are,
Okay.
I I don't know. I fear a little bit of that.
Yeah. I've seen there's a think thankfully for my case, I haven't dealt with that yet, although I can outside looking understand that there's a real I I don't know. I kind of hate that I say that, but there's a real where there was this daughter dealing with her mom. Her mom was like, "Do I have anything wrong with me? Am I good?" She has Alzheimer's. And the mom was like, or the daughter was like, "No, you're good. Just enjoy." Like, see, they're making it the best, like what you're talking, and that having that connection, and that's. But to see that, it's like, oh man, that's just to say, yeah, that's
Well, so this is a great. Let's transition back to the partying of the fake it till you make it,
yeah.
right? And because you brought that up, and I'm sorry, I'm talking about death right away. But these
No,
things
you're
are
fine.
connected.
Yeah.
And in one of these reels I did talk about, it was actually I think someone commented on one of my TikToks and said I'm autistic, and I always feel like I'm faking it, and I'm exhausted when I go to socialize. And I my response was, what if that's okay?
Yeah.
And quoting Shakespeare, who says, "All the world's a stage, men
Yep.
and women merely players." All of us have a part to play, and personally, I do feel like I'm authentic, but I feel like on any given day or week, have 7 different parts that I get to play. And
Yep.
sometimes I'm a serious party coach, and sometimes I'm a cringy TikTok dancer,
Sure.
and sometimes so one of my other jobs is I'm a mentor to high schoolers who are applying to like Harvard and Princeton, and I have to put on a very different hat and perform kind of a different version. It's not a different version of myself. It's still me, but like I love playing that part. And then I love coming and talking about drugs and
Yeah.
sex and partying on a
Yep.
different thing, but it requires a slightly different energy for me. And so my question was, can it be fun to play that part? And can it not be stressful to think like I have to be authentic and perfectly me at all times? Because I think for some of us, who is the real me is more confusing than others.
And that's a lot of, especially in my generation that I'm aware of, that's a lot of the question. Who am I? What am I? And I think, and this is a question I've heard, and I'm curious your thoughts. Everything, so we agree. But to hear back, okay, but I feel less authentic. I don't know. How would you respond to that? Is that valid? Is it not valid? How would you respond to that?
Yeah. So I guess my first question is always when you perceive someone else as being inauthentic,
Hmm.
how do you make that determination? And why is that offensive to you? That's I'm sorry, that's a question to you. If you perceive someone as
Okay.
being inauthentic, like why does that upset you?
I don't know. I don't know if that would really upset me personally,
Yeah.
but here's what I will say. I think you can tell though when someone's like trying. I hate to trying too hard, not in that
Mhm.
way, but like because there's tension between faking it till you make it and trying. It's like, come on, brother. Like, I think there's difference. Is that would you agree or disagree? Maybe there's no difference. Maybe it's how society has trained me to see certain things.
Yeah, I there's a couple ways to look at it, right?
Yeah.
One of them so, okay, so here's a good example.
Okay.
Did you learn how to ride a bike with training wheels?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, right? So, to ride a bike with training wheels, like, you know you have training wheels on, your dad knows, he's pushing you down the street, you're still learning with the training wheels, right? To know that and believe that you're on training wheels is one thing. If you have the training wheels on and you're riding next to someone else and you're like, I'm riding the bike just as well as they are, and you have training wheels and they don't, and you're kind of you're truly you're lying about having training wheels. I think that's the deception, right?
Yeah.
I
I
think
agree.
it's okay to fake it by having training wheels, but acknowledge that you have the training wheels on.
Yes. I used to do sales. And being in sales, I remember one day I was younger. I was like, man, I feel myself becoming a sales professional. And my boss at that time was like, you don't become that. You just are. And that kind of boggled me. I was like, well, I feel like I'm coming into it. But anyways, the point is,
Mhm.
I'm kind of putting them what you're saying, what he was saying. He's a great guy, by the way. But I'm seeing that like fake it till you make it. I think that's why I found myself attracted to that clip. Like honestly, if I'm being honest, everyone's kind of doing that. Regard business, social, yeah, like everyone's doing
Yes.
that.
Yes, and because you have to ride the bike with the training wheels as if they're not there. You have to start to believe, because if you're just like laying
Hmm.
back and kind of like, if you're not even
Yeah.
trying to learn the balance and you're literally just laying back, but you have to start to believe these training wheels will be gone. What does it feel like to balance? And you are become, and then in that sense, you have become a bike rider.
True. Yeah. Faking it till you make that under. And I also think there's a connect. So I used to be an RA in my college, and I was talking to my GRC or whatever you call it, my boss. Um, and there's a basketball player behind me, and he asked me something, and I don't remember what I said, but I talked to him, and I go back to talk to my boss, and he was like, "That was, do you know what you just did?" And I was like, "No." He asked me, I think it was moving my chair, and he was like, "You code switch, you talk differently to him than we're having a conversation." And I was like, "Oh." I thought it was so weird. I was like, okay, like I didn't even notice it. But back what you're saying, depending on who you're talking to, now I can see it. Like I'm aware of that now. But with what you're saying, especially with that TikTok, well, like depending on your audience, who are you talking to today? You said when you talk to different students, it has to be different. Different people receive different things. Is code switching a part of that? Am I on the right track here?
Yeah, yeah, it's great, and this brings up another thing that I think I don't know if it's just a controversial opinion, but
Hmm.
people talk. So one, authenticity is a very like high vibrational emotion, right?
Okay.
And also, we can be authentic and still play parts, right? Like when
Okay.
um, Ian McKellen is playing Gandalf,
Okay.
you can see like there's pieces of Ian in there, right? But he's authentically like stepping into this role, and there's something like burning from his heart that we feel that that's there. At least I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And one of the things that parties allow us to do, at least for me, I definitely code switch from different parties. I'm like
Mm.
super in some ways. I'm like this very fratty. You put me in like a sports bar environment, I'm that. I'm
Okay.
also a gay man who like loves to dance on tables, and I will freaking like
Okay.
twerk my ass off
Okay.
when I'm that. And then you put me around a bunch of musical theater nerds, and I will full like I did
Okay.
show choir, and I can literally like so all of those are me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not it's not appropriate for me to act that way in different environments because there's different energy of people that are kind of creating expectations for how we get to interact.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
So my thing for
Mm.
anyone is like, don't judge yourself if you code switch or if you shift, you change, as long as the way that you're showing up is coming from your heart.
It's still you. Like you're
Yeah.
not changing who you are. So, oh, I see. I see. Okay. So, regardless, no matter who you're to, if I'm changing who Kyle is, like fundamentally, then it's not that authentic word. It wouldn't be coming off as authentic. So you're genuinely changing fundamentally who you are. You can have the code switch. I'm still Kyle if I still code switch. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes, and one of the reasons why some of the most popular parties for so long were masquerades, right?
Okay.
People could put on masks, and they would get to go. You know, you would have very wealthy people mixing with different types of people, and because of this mask, there was a sense of anonymity, and there's something fun about that, right?
Yeah.
That we get to play a little bit of a different part, and there's a there's a beauty and a mystery in kind of the seduction that also can happen in a
What do you
party
mean?
environment. So if we were able to see everyone all the time for everything that they were, we'd be bored to tears. We
Agreed. Agreed.
wouldn't go and do anything. And
Agreed.
so this is why I always push back on people who are like, authentic people are exactly who they are everywhere. I'm like, maybe,
Hmm.
but I think you know, I I would be so bored in that type of a world, and I think there would be
Yeah.
very little fun because so much of fun comes from out of spontaneity and surprise, and seeing your friend who's that quiet kid who's like never been to the party
Yeah.
before, and they come and they have a couple beers, and pretty soon they're like
Yeah.
chat to the girl in the corner. It's like, yes,
Yeah.
I love those moments when I get to see people step out of who they are on everyday levels.
Yeah. I'm
So this
thinking
is
of
yeah.
sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut
No,
you off.
no, go.
No, I smile because when you say that, back in when I go college, we had this guy, his great guy. His name's Garrett. I don't think he minds at all. He like super inside to himself, didn't go. And then we used to, as a quad, all the guys in the floor, we just hang out, drive, doesn't matter. Tons of things. And this one time he got like a fedora and he brought his Nintendo DS to like a bowling and we loved it. It was like
Yeah, yeah,
go Garrett. Like he was so when you say that, I can connect with that instantly and know what you mean because I've seen it. And it is something about that. You're like, let's go. Like you're surrounded, you're safe to a degree where it's not like controlling you. You know your homies are around. You're good to let's have fun.
yeah. Well, and you just like you got just like this genuine burst of laughter and surprise from me, right? Thinking of like the fedora and the
Yeah.
and the Nintendo, because I have friends like that I love, and I like that too. But it reminds me of something else when people ask about why I talk about partying,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of personal development and confidence coaches and people out there. But
Yeah.
I saw this meme the other day, and it was two photos. The first one is both of a kid, and one of them is when I tell my kid to smile, and the kid's going like, and the other one is when I tell my kid when I yell poop, and the kid's like, ah, and he's laughing, and you can see
Yeah.
like him. This the faking the smile versus when I yell poop, we get this genuine thing out of it. So when I say what do I do as a party coach, I'm screaming poop into like the world, the professional development world, and
Yeah.
trying to get people to like, what is this like? What makes you genuinely laugh instead of the fake and the smile?
Yeah. Yeah. A great segue into I love that. So what does that look like at different kinds of parties? Do you have like the fratty parties, the business professional suit and tie? Is that different? Is instead of poop, do you say Excel sheets or whatever? What is that? I don't know. Like what does that look? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and this is there's another quote that I use a lot. So Arnold Schwarzenegger says, you know, what applies in fitness applies everywhere else, and that reps with preceding difficulty over time is the only way to improve.
Yeah.
And so, if you are someone who's listening to this who maybe wants to be more social or wants to feel more confident or is, overwhelmed or anxious, reps over time with progressive difficulty. I'm sorry, there's no other like I don't have a magic thing for you. And anyone that claims to
Yeah.
have that for you, I'd love to talk to them.
Yeah.
But
Me too.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but if you can see it as and this is cringy, but see it as a gym and see, hey, I'm gonna go to my work party
Okay.
and instead of asking everyone, you know, what's what deadly, what are you working on or what do you do for a living, like a networking party,
Yeah.
something that I would go to those parties with, I would literally ask people like, what's bringing you joy in your life this week?
Yeah.
And a very simple question, but people would be like, what? You want to hear
Yeah.
joy? Like, what are you? But in asking that question, I became a portal to a different type of feeling and experience. You know who left with the most numbers and cards at every networking event?
Yeah.
The weird guy who asked you about joy, not the guy who's like, so what are you building this week? Or,
True.
like
True.
so people do connect with feelings. People, I think there's that Maya Angelou quote about,
Yes.
people rarely remember what you said, but they remember how you
How you
made them
made it
feel.
feel. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I one of my friends, he's more introverted, has a bit of a hard time. And when you say what you said, he was like, "How do I make friends?" And I was like, I'm a big fan of The Office. I love The Office. Watch all the time. And I told him like, go up to someone and say, "Hey, have you noticed gum's gotten mintier lately?" They were like, "What the hell? Like, what is this guy talking about?" Like, totally different, kind of off, super offbeat.
Yeah.
But with what you're saying, so there's something to that. Then, like, salespeople do something like that to kind of get you off guard, but in this context, we're talking about just talking to people, just getting in the same room. And I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. So, I know what you do, what you're trying to do, and the heart of it. Why partying? Why that? I know we kind of just talked, felt like about that, but specifically, why partying? What does that do that other mediums won't do?
One, I'll speak from a very like a personal level.
Okay.
I started being called the party coach a little maybe 5 years ago, kind
Okay.
of right after COVID. And it was kind of a marketing thing to start. And
Yeah, I can see that.
I, I will say, like, I've wanted to give up so many times. And I've not like what am I doing with my life? I went to a college in a place where there's a lot of really successful, serious people.
Okay.
And my friends are buying, houses in the Hamptons and are VPs at Goldman Sachs, and I worked in sales and I've had people that have like done things like this,
Yeah.
and there's part of me that wanted to like never show up on LinkedIn or never, because I
Sure.
was like, who's this guy that talks about partying?
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I feel like, and this is one of the things, all my life I felt like I didn't have a purpose. And then I was gifted or cursed with this purpose. And I
Okay.
don't know which one it is. But I know that by just talking about this, it has led to I get so many DMs and messages from people who have in small ways, maybe like, hey, I went to a party sober for the first time because I saw you did it. I get a lot of those messages.
Okay.
But I get messages from clients and people years down the road. They're like, "I've been following you for 2, 3 years, and I never left my house on Fridays and Saturdays, and now I went to a rave and I met somebody and I'm getting married." Like, I literally get messages like that.
Wow.
And so when I say why partying, I think it touches on something that, like we said, it's that poop thing that just telling people to go socialize more or like go solve the loneliness crisis, stop
Yeah.
scrolling. I, there needs to be something more tangible and
Agreed.
concrete. And so I don't know. It could be anything else, but partying is what I've been cursed with. So
Okay.
I'll run with it.
Okay, it sounds great. I was talking to my producer about like our conversation and things. I was like, "Yeah, parting. That's I." And here's the especially, I'm curious. Like in your work, I'm 29. Do you get a lot of people like in their 20s? Like, I'm stuck to my phone. I need to get out because I feel like that's the reality today.
Yes. So I
Yeah.
started this kind of focused on alcohol and substances, but I'd
Okay.
say, your generation, I think, has that more together than millennials. We were all alcoholics.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
but now, your generation are all scrollaholics and
Yeah.
are doom scrollers.
Yep.
And I deal with it too, but so that's definitely something that I talk about a lot is, are you a digital tourist in other people's lives? And if that's who you are, no wonder you feel lonely.
Yeah.
So, but we have in these devices such a beautiful ability to see and feel and connect with people across the globe in ways that people never did before. And I think we
Yeah.
should be not too hard on ourselves when we want to, like, we constantly have something new that we can experience, and the dopamine hits at that all the time. Like, it is beautiful in a lot of ways, even if I think we're going to figure out, like you did with whatever, light beer in college,
Yeah.
that we're waking up on the other side of this scrolling and being like, something's not right here. I know it in my soul that this is not how I'm supposed to be spending my time.
Yeah. And that's common. That's
Yeah.
really felt. That idea is felt. Even I like, I'll catch myself. I'll be like, oh, sorry, just dropped my phone. But I'll be on my phone and I'm like, what am I? Why am I just scrolling like mindlessly? Um, I feel blessed that the fact I can talk to people I enjoy to, but that's not everyone's reality. Like understanding, which is why I'm very intrigued and I like your part. Get out, go party, go interact with people, fall down, get hurt. Like, yeah, that go do those things. Force yourself to be in uncomfortable situations when it comes to party. Don't like if you're getting physically, that's a whole different thing. But if we're just talking like going to a party and you're uncomfortable, go to that. Right or wrong? Should you not? Or
Yes, and so this brings up another great thing that we can tie this into sports too a lot
okay.
because I've been obsessed. I've loved that Alyssa Liu, the gold medalist.
Oh
If
yes.
you've seen her,
Yeah. Yeah.
her performance. Like, you look at that, and you're like, that is just freedom, right? She is just
Yeah.
beaming authenticity. But you look at interviews, and she was like falling down over and over and over again, and she's like, I love the pain. She's like, it's fun for me to struggle. And I will say, I don't know if I can help people if you're not at least a little willing to
Yeah.
fall in love with the struggle.
Yep.
Because somewhere along the way, you probably got the idea that it was always fun to socialize, and that's not true.
Yeah.
It was always awkward. I was always afraid to go socialize in high school and middle school. I always felt like I didn't belong. But then we
Yep.
have these memories of, oh, it was fun. I had all this good time, but
True.
it was hard. We struggled and we we didn't know what we were doing. And and just because you're now an adult doesn't mean that it's going to be much different, I think.
Yeah, I think there's always so my wife, she's a licensed MFT therapist, and she talked you two started saying kind of the same thing, pretty much. You have to put in the hard work regardless. I mean, if you're trying to be the best reader, socialize, gym, sports, you fill in the blank. But you have to do the work and it's hard. It's not sexy. It's not like, wow, going to the, like I'm going to the, I'm on a weight loss thing right now. Going to the, I'm not always motivated. Yesterday was leg day. Wednesdays are my leg day. I was telling my wife we were coming back, we're driving around, and I'm like, I don't want to go. But the strength is, and I'm curious your thoughts on how you see this. You're not always motivated to do whatever it is. Doesn't matter. Whatever it is you want to do, you're not always motivated to do that.
Yes. And so this is another thing that helps me and helps clients. I call it the rule of thirds.
Okay.
And it's an inevitability, which is that a third of the time when you whether you work out or go to a party, a third of the time it's going to be great, a third of the time is going to be mediocre, and a third of the time it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
And that's
True.
inevitable because that's just we create value on realizing that these things are separate and bad. Like if everything was good all the time, we wouldn't even know what bad was. And
Yeah.
so we have to experience those things. And so my offer to anyone here is if you're trying to make every single time you go out, or if you go out once, it's great, and the next time it's bad, and you're like, well, screw this, I'm not going to do this again, you're doing exactly the right thing, which
Yeah.
is that it lets a little of the pressure off. And I have to do this at the gym all the time. I did this morning.
Okay.
I've been working a little bit, and I went today, and I was going to do this really difficult like sculpt yoga class, and I was like, I'm not going to do that today. I'm feeling
Okay.
bad. I literally went to like 5 machines. I did the thing.
Okay.
I did that,
Sure.
and I was like, I went to the gym today, and
Yep.
I did the thing, and I'm already like. I can feel tomorrow. I'm like, oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna go back tomorrow. But I showed up and had a bad day at the gym today, and that allows me to have a mediocre or a great day tomorrow.
You would love what I. So one of my roommates, he's now a voice actor. He's Disney and a few other things. His name's Jack Rose. Great guy, but he says something much along the same lines. He's like anything maybe, but he said anything worth doing is worth doing it terribly. So he was before he got into the gym. He used to be very like out of shape. Jack, I love you, but he'll be okay with me saying that. He's married now. He's doing well, I guess you saying like, but he looks different. And I remember we had that conversation in college, and he was like, if that means just showing up to the gym and staring at a treadmill for an hour, that's better. You're there. You showed up. And I found years later now that that is true no matter what. If you want to go party, if you want to socialize, whatever you fill in the blank, doesn't matter. That and I kind of getting hints of that from what you're. So if you suck at partying and socializing, show up to the party, get a solo cup, and if you don't want any alcohol, put apple juice or something. Put something and walk around, talk to people. You know.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. And just tying this back into the phones and social media too, I
Okay.
think why this is so difficult, and it's difficult for me too, is when I'm scrolling, like feeling these mini like connections or like the algorithm is feeding me things that are new and it feels like I'm learning and it feels like I'm laughing with my friends,
Yeah.
who are these parasocial relationships of people that I don't actually know.
Yep.
And making the choice between am I going to go feel awkward in front of other people or can I very safely there's no risk involved at all of maybe I'll laugh a little bit in my room. I think subconsciously that's a really difficult thing to shake. And
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
my and also, I'm going back and reading just a
Okay.
lot of like old books. I'm reading like the Iliad and the Odyssey and all of the
Oh
Greek
yes.
plays and all of that.
Okay.
And the sloth and gluttony were very common things even back then. They had nothing to scroll, but they were all, there was
Yeah.
always like, oh, you're gonna sit in with your wine and cheese again this weekend,
Yeah.
instead of coming out to the forum to be in the symposium. Like, where's your honor? And people would be like, I'm gonna stay at home with my wine and cheese. So like,
Yeah.
just these things come in new waves, but humanity has always had to overcome the comforts
Yeah.
of what it means to exist in order, in my opinion, to live a virtuous or meaningful life.
So to a degree, safety matters. What about AI? Like, because we've seen those stories today. What does that look like? What have you seen that's done? How does AI play into this?
AI is I'm a tech optimist. I
Okay.
think there's a lot of really cool stuff that AI will continue to bring to us.
Great.
I I do the fears that I have is I think so we have a need as a society to offload a lot of tasks that are, why are people sitting in front of a computer all day anyway? People bitch
Yeah.
about that all the time.
Yeah.
So can AI come to replace a lot of those things that frees us up to do some other things? And yes, it's going to be painful because people who have for the last 20, 30 years built their identity around sitting in front of a computer, maybe that will change.
Sure.
But a darker view is the same way that we needed to feed a couple more billion people on the planet, and so we invented
Yeah.
higher calorie foods, and we invented junk foods, and we invented things that generally they get the job done, but they ultimately are not great for our bodies long term. I feel that
Yeah.
AI will, I don't know how big it will be, but I think a large portion of the population will consume AI the same way they consume shitty calories.
Yeah.
And great art and things will continue to be made, but for a smaller and smaller group of people who choose to not eat from the slot bucket.
Is it making people? Is it making people more parasocial, or in lieu of having like a conversation like we're having, or with another person in real life at a party? I can just go to AI and it'll talk to me like it's a real person. Is that a danger? Is that a benefit? Is it a fire?
So I think a lot of these things. Have you heard that parable of the Chinese man who, a wolf comes and kills his sheep, and
Hmm.
someone's like,
Yes.
oh, this sucks, and he's like, we'll see. And then the next day, it's like, but it's all these things. He's always saying like, we'll see,
Yeah,
right?
I can't call it. Yeah.
Right, everything bad thing that happens, a good thing comes out of it.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of what's happening with AI is people are really going deep, and some people are having spiritual awakenings or are having legitimate introspective shifts and great empathy for other parts of the humanity. Like people really do care what's happening across the globe because it is now ported into their phone.
Yeah.
Whereas we didn't have that before. Now, that has all kinds of second order effects in that it's frying people's nervous systems and they go into
True.
psychosis because they are consuming suffering
Yeah.
all the time. And
Yep.
so I don't have an answer. I'm still at a we'll see, but I think there's lots
Okay.
of beautiful things that are going to come out of this. But
I agree.
I think in the meantime, we're going to experience a lot of suffering along the way.
I agree wholeheartedly, especially with that. I think of, I don't know if you saw this movie. It's called Her with
Yeah.
Joker. I love that movie. I think it's a great movie. I might watch it today, later this week. But I remember when I first saw it, I was in high school, like 2010, 2013. And I remember thinking, like, that's so far out there. That's crazy. Fast forward to 2026, that could be reality. So it's like, especially for single, lonely men, it's like, who don't want to with the opposite sex, it doesn't matter. They don't build the skills of like W Riz or whatever they say.
Mhm.
So it's like, is that going to negatively affect us, or as you're saying, in the long term, will it work out? It'll be rough in the beginning, but eventually we'll get the skills to use on whomever, what, like, you'll get those skills, and that's what really matters. Is that your thought process? Am I following you correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I have to be very I constantly check myself because
Yeah. Same.
while I'm ahead of of some trends and I see things happening. I just don't have a great track record of knowing what's coming next. I don't think that's my job. I
Okay.
really do try to be I'm very good at being in the present. That's another thing that I'll put about why I love partying and why I love talking about partying is because unlike therapy and a lot of other modalities that are trying to find the root cause and why do I feel this way
Yeah.
and what is I think there's value to that, but I'd say I've been in personal development for about almost 15, 20 years now.
Okay.
I'd say most of us reach the conclusion where maybe 20% of people find like a root cause and it solves it. Most of the rest of us realize all that matters is your present and how you feel about the future. And if you create an environment and a feeling of I like where I am, I like the suffering, I like this, and I'm going to move into the future with this direction,
Yeah.
that's the lesson.
Yeah. Understand it. Yeah. I think both can definitely. Uh, I was, if you're okay with talking with, you've brought up your sobriety multiple times and being with partying. How was that important? Because you've brought it up now, so I'm curious. What's the link there? What does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think again, I'll link this with kind of my millennial identity,
Okay.
which is that,
Okay.
when I was in college, we drank 6 days a week, and it was just normal. and
Okay.
and I look back on pictures, and yeah, I did not look good, but
Okay.
it was we were pretty happy
Yeah.
because we were just like, it felt good, right? And
Yeah.
then eventually, for me, I was dealing with grief and dealing with all insecurities and other issues, and eventually things got intertwined in a way
Yeah.
that were not healthy for me.
Okay.
And it was a really big struggle for me to be able to show up at a party and not have a drink in my hand or have a bag of cocaine that I could control the room with. People had to come get coke
Sure.
from me.
Yeah.
And I got to go through a lot of humbling experiences through that. And because I'm not sober today, I'm not,
Okay.
but I have done long periods of sobriety that are probably the most meaningful things I'll do because having to sit with my emotions and my insecurities without numbing or shifting or changing them with the help of substances really helped me
Yeah.
fall in love with that struggle and that suffering. And
So it was like a
yeah,
way, if I'm hearing you correctly, it was a way out of whatever it is you specifically were feeling that time. I'm partying, I'm gonna let loose. I kind of don't want to think about this grief thing back there. And this allows me. I would agree that it's a danger to self medicate yourself or something like that. But I'm curious, in your perspective, is there any benefit at all? Is it better just to take on full of mind? Hey, I need to deal with this and not in your mind. Maybe you're running away. Is there any benefit? If there is, what is that? And how did it hurt? Yeah, we'll go there.
yeah. So I am very pro drugs and alcohol
Okay.
in general.
Okay.
Uh, Although I think different humans have get to play different. Come bring this back to the Shakespeare.
Okay.
There's different parts that people are meant to play,
Yeah.
and I think you walk into any. I'm in Chicago,
Okay.
and there's so much community and love and connection about. They have these corner pubs here all over the place, and there's people in there on Monday and Tuesday nights hanging out and drinking, and I'm sure there's a percentage of alcoholics there.
Sure.
And there's also super normal people that love just having something to do to go and connect and get out of their house and be with
Yeah.
each other. And I've seen experiments of I lived in Los Angeles
Okay.
and people trying to recreate, non-alcoholic bars and
Yeah. There's a lot of
I
them.
yeah, and maybe someday there's something there will be a portion of population that loves that, but I'm pro experimentation, but I think
Okay.
that when something does work and we have a ton of evidence that it works and people live full, happy lives, being
Yeah.
able to go to the bar with their friends, I have no place demonizing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if it's working out, you're saying, then what's
Yeah.
the, yeah, I would agree with that. I also agree with what we're saying earlier. I think experiences matter too. If I always talk about this in my podcast, but long story short, my friend, he a cab, he hates police. And the point I'm making is I at that time I was like, I don't agree. Surprise, we're still friends. And he has an amazing daughter. He's an amazing dad. But at that time, I didn't know anything. Anyways, when you grow up, and this is just an example, seeing police kill your family members, whatever, of course you're gonna see them negative. There's no, wow, there's that shouldn't surprise you. So with what you're saying, like your experiences with something, whether or not someone can disagree, you're a random person. It's like, does your opinion really matter in the end? I don't know. But what you're saying with this is their experience, this is how they experienced it. I think, yeah, that, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I love that you brought that up, and it brings up something for me where I spent a lot of time in my life very politically active,
okay,
and I really cared about convincing people why I was right or why the world would be better if more people saw the world the way I did.
yeah,
And I think that was really important seasons of my life to go through that. I don't regret that. I will say that as I've done my quote unquote healing,
okay,
or as I have become more secure in who I am, I opened this podcast with it. Like, I don't really care if more
yeah,
people party or think like me
yeah,
or have my same opinions. In fact, I know even though I'm more secure in my opinions, I know that in another 10 years I will look back on the things that I thought today and some of them are going to be wrong.
yes, I
and
agree,
and
yes,
so it's really hard. Like, I'm not wishy-washy, but I hold I learned this as I was getting sober. They talk about holding your sobriety like a loose garment,
okay,
where it's like I flow my opinions sort of how I have. I wear them with a loose garment, and that it protects me generally from exposure to the world. But I'm open to new ideas. I'm open to things changing.
you're human,
And yes, I'm
yeah,
human, and I have
yeah,
friends on severe ends of the political spectrum.
yep,
I actually get into trouble from people
okay,
is I'm just because you have a problem with somebody else or their opinion, even if you're a close friend of mine, I'll talk with you about it, but I'm not going to block that person off
yeah,
based on, on an opinion that they
yeah,
have. If it's
yeah,
an action, that's different.
I
But
agree.
yeah,
Yes, you are on to something with that. Yes, I agree. I think, yeah, I think for especially my generation, yeah, I don't know how we got into this. We'll move back to burning, but yeah, I figured it. Everything feels so intense, like so intense, which is I like the party coach and me having a conversation. Have fun, go. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, everything does feel like super intense, and I'm relating with what you said about, hey, in 10 years, I might look back and I was wrong. I think that's super humbling. And I think and I don't know, maybe this is controversial, but we should all have that I set, things like that. Like, yeah, I'm human. I bleed, I get sick, I have bad days. Things are gonna change. I might not like bacon or whatever it is. Maybe I like chocolate now in 10 years. Like,
yes,
don't take
yeah.
opinions from someone who does D all the above. Like, I don't know. That's a personal opinion of mine that
Well,
yeah.
and this brings up something else of where I feel parties do such a good
Okay.
job at this,
Okay.
which is I don't in all those years that I was very politically active and
Okay.
posting all on Facebook and canvassing, maybe I convinced a couple people by arguing.
Sure.
I will say once I stopped arguing and started embodying and living from my heart without trying to convince or change anyone,
Yeah.
I get 10 times more messages from people who say, "Oh, wow, like, I noticed, you were very neutral on this political position that everyone was on, and that made me wanna look about it, and I have this different opinion on it right now." I'm like, "Great, I wasn't trying to
Sure.
I
Yeah.
literally was not trying to
Yes.
change
I
you,
know what you're
I just
saying.
really wasn't sure." And what parties have allowed me to do is I can be on a dance floor with MAGA Republicans and ICE out
Yeah.
liberals, and you might not know, and you're sharing a dance floor and you're vibing together.
Yeah.
And there's some people that want to make the rave scene and partying very political. I think that's fine. That's great. They think parties are inherently political. Great.
Yeah.
I don't think they are. I've been to a ton of parties that, nobody knows what anyone else thinks.
Yep.
And even people that might have hate in their hearts get to share a dance floor and they're like, holy cow, that person who has a skin color or sexual orientation different than me, actually they treated me with love and respect, and I'm
Yep.
gonna change because you didn't argue with me.
Yep.
I want to allow that to happen, but I'm not going to try to convince or change anyone that doesn't
Yep.
believe that's possible because I'm not going to change their mind.
Yep. I wish I could agree more, but yeah, it's like that. Yes. And yes. So I've noticed too. I've spoke with some political activists, Monica Guzman. They've been on this podcast, all focused on this. And there's one running thread, and we've talked about it even today. You just brought it up. When people get together, regardless of what's going on, there's some human identity that we're all connected. It doesn't matter this, that, the other, whatever it is, but you're connected in that moment. Oh, you're really a great guy. Oh, I just found out you believe opposite of me. Who cares? They're still a great guy. That's an interesting dynamic that's not getting talked about. But back to the whole doom scrolling thing, you doom. I hate this. This person's dumb. Can't believe you had this take. But when we get together, whether it's a party, let's say party for now, that doesn't seem to matter. That's kind of interesting how that works out in the real world. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. This the way this happened for me. I had moved to LA and I joined this CrossFit gym, and
Okay.
that was actually a time when I was struggling. I was first struggling with my sobriety and I was trying to work out. And there was
Okay.
this group of dudes who worked out at 4 p.m. And a lot of them were ex-army guys and really intense,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
really, really conservative, some of
Okay.
them. And I was this, like New York, Chicago liberal off the boat,
Sure.
coming out and just spouting so much shit about how shitty cops were and everything. And they're like,
Sure.
we're like police, we're ex-army and like cops. I was like, oh yeah. But they were like, show up next week, and they started like training me and teaching me. They took me on these trail runs and they started a book club, and then we were in a book club together.
Mm.
And these guys just treated me with so much love.
Yep.
And it was just like, I was like, oh, that I was creating all of these identities and stuff for these people. And so, yeah, again, I drift back and forth. I'm neither of anything nowadays, but
Yeah.
people who just treated me like a human
Yep.
and wanted to love me, I think that's dope.
Amen. I think we can hard agree on that one. I'm just noticing time, Evan. I want to be appreciative and respect
Yeah,
your time. I've so enjoyed this conversation, especially the second and this last part. I've really enjoyed it.
yeah,
I like what you're doing, getting people out their shell and just talk to each other. Let's say someone says, "Man, I want to talk to Evan. I got to get in connect. I got to hire him." How do people go get connected with you?
yeah. Well, first of all, just thanks for having this conversation with me. This is I love to be out dancing and partying, but conversations like this feel like a party to me, and
Good.
this is how this energizes me. And so if you're listening to this and you believe that you have a different way to be energized, and party might be a portal to that, you can visit partycoach.me. And there's a couple different ways you can book a discovery call with me. I also have uh, you can take a quiz that sorts you into one of 7 party archetypes. So this is the wild card, the nurturer, the thing like that. And so if you want to get a little more context into maybe how you are showing up, and we'll go through the blind spots of how maybe your subconscious thinks that you're a certain way. We'll break through those blind spots. And then I have programs called Party Within that help you from the inside out rebuild your social life around growth mindset, and believing that struggle can get you to a social life that you love.
Thank you so much for your time. And I agree with that. That's mic drop. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Evan. I've really enjoyed this conversation. You are a great individual. I've really enjoyed this. And thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it. Party on.